Hello, I'm Adair Margo. Welcome back to Elevate El Paso Culture. We're in a very appropriate place today because we are up and high in El Paso's newest skyscraper, the highest building in El Paso, now called Westar Tower, and built by Hunt Companies, which is a company that was born in El Paso. The picture behind us tells us a little bit about their story. And I think it's wonderful that Gaspar Enriquez, El Paso's very renowned Chicano artist who grew up in the Segundo Barrio and taught at Bowie High School, painted this picture of old Mr. Hunt. They called him Huntsy, and his two sons. Old Mr. Hunt had come from Cimarron, New Mexico. He provided materials for the mining industry and ended up coming to the lower valley of El Paso in Isleta, where he began Hunt Sales. But he wanted his sons, when they got back from war, to join him in the company. And that's what this painting is about. With their articles of agreement, I think they had $48,000 to start, and started a company that has grown into a multinational, extraordinary company, engaged in so many things, but while maintaining its roots and its headquarters in El Paso. And the things about the Hunts is that as they have prospered, El Paso has prospered through their generosity and the Hunt Family Foundation. But having just gone through COVID, I found it very meaningful that old Mr. Hunt, when he wrote a note on a napkin in 1977, he wrote about all the things that they'd been through, the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression, and other troubles, but how their bills were always paid on time and they gained the respect of the banking community. And he thanked his sons and grandsons. I really enjoy this wall. Another thing I'd asked Andrew Joseph when I saw his box Loteria game is whether we could cover a wall in those Loteria cards. So he and his girlfriend, Xochitl Burciaga, came up, reproduced the designs on wood. So they're done in giclée on wood with all 60, I can't remember how many exactly of the cards there are, of the cards that are in the box game. But it's fun. His whole intent was for people to learn El Paso history, not by reading facts, but by playing a game where things really stick. And all these things are related specifically to El Paso. I know you'll recognize them if you look at them. You have the Chicano, you have El Oso, who of course would be Don Haskins. The first librarian, Mary Stanton, who brought books out here from Chicago and stored them in a public building until we had a library of our own. We've always had a series of outstanding librarians. You have the Tequila Indians up in the right-hand corner. You have El Nacimiento, or our birthplace. The birthplace of El Paso was in Ciudad Juarez. The entire region was called El Paso del Norte, or the Paso of the North. And the first building dates all the way back to 1659, before the United States was born. The mission of Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe was built by Fray Garcia de San Francisco with Manso Indian labor. An absolute beautiful church that is the mother of our missions on our side, Socorro and Isleta. And then out in San Elizario, of course, we have a Presidio chapel there on this side of the river. You'll see the smelter, which we no longer have the great big smokestack, which many of us from here grew up with. It is now gone, but we have that memory here in this Loteria game next to La Tranvía, or the trolleys, which ours was the first international trolley in the world here in El Paso, Juarez. El X is there too, which has really become symbolic for El Paso to see that great big red X. And one thing I just learned recently is that it really is a Nahui Olin. If you look at old Aztec codices, there was a 4-petaled flower called the Nahui Olin that was very symbolic or very meaningful to the Aztec people. You have our Tom Lee up there as the artist, and you have Rosa Guerrero as the dancer. We've always been so rich culturally here, not really so much with an art scene, but with very determined, strong individuals who make their own place rather than being part of a crowd. Rosa Guerrero certainly did that with folkloric dance of her own volition and through her teaching, and Tom Lee did through his paintings as well as his writings, as did the El Arquitecto, Henry Trost here, representing architecture, which he left us such a beautiful legacy in our region through his architecture. So enjoy looking at these. You see a variety of all kinds of people and personalities from the historic Paso of the North, now El Paso, Juarez. In getting to help the Hunts with the art in this building, I was very privileged to meet Andrew Joseph, whom I'd never known before, and he had just designed a loteria game. It's called Loteria Paso del Norte. And on the back of all the loteria cards, there was this design that communicated El Paso's history in this radial design. It was so simplified. But this is what patronage does. And it's why we're so fortunate to have the Hunt family who patronize artists from our region. This is a relief. It's made in wood with over 1,200 inlaid pieces of a colored acrylic. And I told Andrew when I saw it, it's really a tour de force, the way it's built up. He added light behind. To be able to communicate so much of El Paso history is really extraordinary. Tom Lee's painting that we saw earlier, dealing with our giants, well, when you deal with giants, you run out of space. So it takes this circular form to be, that's really what the High Renaissance was all about. I told Andrew he's like the High Renaissance of El Paso art in the 20th century. But you have a sun in the middle. Of course, our sun is ubiquitous, shines every day. This is a hybrid of the New Mexico sun god and the Mexican. It's got our mountains. And then in these radial shapes, we have the Rio Grande, which of course, many of the old Indian trails followed the river. And so you have these emblems of the Indian culture all laid in. You have skulls and hand symbols and arrowheads. Then the next road or the next travel route was the Camino Real. And with that, you have all the emblems of the conquistador. You have the church that came with Spain. You have the church architecture, the outline here. And then you have the coming of the West in the United States, cowboys and Indians with the arrows and the pistols. You have the overland stagecoach with all the covered wagons traveling out west. You have actually assembled the salt shaker. We had salt wars out here, way out east, where we once the Anglos came and began charging for salt, there was a big dispute over that. And then the coming of the railroad. You have railroad tracks. You have, of course, with the railroad came all the architecture and the building up of the city. That's when El Paso really began booming. And then he has references to the cattle industry, cotton, margaritas, all kinds of symbols of the Southwest, of El Paso, Juarez. And up above, even to SpaceX and Blue Origin, and the rocket ships that are going up in our part of the country now. Just like in illuminated manuscripts, where monks would paint the four evangelists in the corner of a beautiful illustrated manuscript, Andrew chose to do animal spirits in the corners of his work of art, with a frame that has the points of the mountaintops So he carries the theme of El Paso throughout, even to the edges of the frame.